This video is for us who live a very basic life, doing very basic things on a very basic Sunday morning, but want to capture it in a not that basic way. So I will share with you now my tips and tricks how you can shoot and edit in every day in an exciting way. Should totally trademark this. And while we edit, let's have a look at what the X4 has up its sleeves. Sleeve? How many sleeves does it have? It has one, right? This one. That's where you put it in. Tip number one here, and we're going fast. The one trick that can make the mundane look interesting is by using unique angles. Now, this is an action camera. You can place it into spots that a normal camera cannot be placed in, like a sink or a cereal bowl. Now, with the invisible selfie stick that you may already know, invisible because the camera, the 360 camera, actually erases out the selfie stick so that the camera is basically just floating in space, giving you the opportunity to shoot very unique angles. Now, this can be ranging by just putting it on a tripod or a little monopod to have it somewhere. No, doesn't matter. Or you can attach it to your bicycle. Now, there are some specific accessories like this little pole here that you can put on your handlebar. And what else do we have? I used actually this clamp here because my bike has what they call narrow frame, so it's not round. That allows me to use these bike specific attachments. And you can also use this camera with some body mounts like the chest strap here. With that wide, super wide field of view, you can capture everything basically right in front of you. Or this body mount here, this waist strap that with that invisible selfie stick combined allows you to capture a third-person view, like almost like a computer game. Just floats over you, or you can put it to the side, so as if a drone is following you. All that said, like as a one-person shooter, you can capture some really interesting, new, unique angles that a normal camera would not even be mounted to, because these things are pretty light. Now, the biggest feature announcement of the X4 is that it's now shooting in 8K 30 frames per second. We also can now expect a higher frame rate, and that's the case. In 4K, we can now shoot it up to 100 frames per second, slow motion, which is great for some action shots. Now also, when you are shooting in low light situations, you actually want to shoot more so in 5.3K, 24 or 30 frames per second. Now, I've done this in those scenes where I wake up in the morning. You see, these are still very small lenses and small sensors, so bumping down or dropping down in resolution helps you to capture a little bit more light and have that grain and that noise a little bit reduced. So the recommendation is when you shoot in low light, shoot at 5.3K instead of 8K. Tip number 3, no matter what scene you're capturing, motion draws the viewer's eye. This can be either motion within the frame or by moving the camera. But you want to use motion with intention in order to drive the story forward. And the nice thing about the 360 cameras, especially now with a higher resolution, is that you can add that motion, that camera motion in post-production, and you don't have to worry about it necessarily while you're shooting. You just place the camera and then change the motion as your subject, for example, passes by the camera. And when you plan out the shots, as well as in the edit, you want to make sure that the motion flows. And what I mean by that is that the direction of the motion should not change with every single shot. You want to give your viewer's eye basically a sense of direction, a sense of flow, so that it's not coming across as erratic and jumping around. But talking about motion, when you move around that camera obviously shakes. The X4 has improved stabilization and horizon lock, so especially when you're on a bike or some bouncy area, just enabling the stabilization makes that image much more enjoyable and smoother to view. To make your images look naturally fast and more organic, we can enable the motion ND feature in the Insta360 Studio or within the app, which basically adds a motion blur after the fact. Also, if you want to suggest speed, you want your camera to be close to the ground or close to a passing by subject. Now, with a 360 camera that has very exposed lenses here, this can be dangerous because you can quickly drop it on the ground, just grind it a little bit, And this is really a weak point that has been a weak point for all 360 cameras. And finally, Insta360 brought us the solution with replaceable lens caps here that allow us to have a protective filter basically on top of the camera here. Now these rugged removable lens guards, and they have like a premium version and a standard version for that, have been asked for a long time, and finally they're here. I would say just use them when you're really in a situation where you're concerned about scratching your lenses, because they can create flares, extra flares in certain lighting conditions. So keep that in mind when you use them. And last but not least, the tip for today is variety. Variety is the spice of life, but it's also the spice of any good video edit. You don't want to just rely on a couple of angles, just a couple of shots. You want to create a multitude of angles. And as you're out there capturing the variety of life with a variety of shots, you'll be delighted to hear that the camera battery life has been extended on the X4
to 2 hours and 15 minutes.
That's 67% longer than the X3. It is a bigger battery pack and the camera overall is slightly heavier, but it's nice to go out there with a little bit of a longer battery life and you don't have to swap them out all the time. Oh, and before I forget it, they also added gesture control to stop and start recording. Now this comes in very handy because yes, they already had voice control in the previous model, but especially when you're on a bike or on a snowboard, there's a lot of noise going on. And you don't want to necessarily yell at your camera, so you can discreetly just raise your hand, open it up, and then it starts recording. And then if you want to stop recording, you just raise your hand, you open it up, and it stops recording. Since it's filming 360, it doesn't matter where you point it, it recognizes that hand, and boom, you can start and stop recording. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope these tips were helpful.